The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Tsuburaya Productions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tokucast Reviews, episode 128.
Hello. The first time that we've actually gotten to something as soon as it finished.
I was going to say, we're caught up.
For the most part, yeah.
At least on Sentai. On Sentai, we're caught up.
Yeah.
Now we just have to go back and review the older ones we missed that are fully subbed.
I'm very excited to do so. I am so unbelievably excited to do this show. Mm-hmm. I haven't loved this show this much, really, since Loopat, but I think I actually like this more than Loopat.
Wow.
Which is odd coming from me, but today we're doing Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. Mm-hmm. Feels like it's only been a year since we did our first impressions, because it has.
Yeah, that tends to be how time works.
Well, it's weird for us because we don't usually
review the show afterwards.
Yeah, at least not immediately. As soon as it's finished.
This just happened to time out that way.
Yeah, we got real lucky on this.
And because as with Garo VR and Trigger as well, we are reviewing a show that did just finish.
Yeah.
So spoilers, we do. All the reviews are spoiler reviews, but because this show did just finish, if you have not
as of last week,
if you have not had a chance to finish Zenkaiger yet, we recommend you do so before watching this.
Yes. So we're gonna start where we usually do.
The opening.
The opening.
I like it.
I really like this.
It's opening. Okay. Yeah,
it's good.
Sung by Ultraman Dyna.
Right.
I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this at the beginning, but the more I listened to it, I didn't listen to it every
I did not know Ultraman Dyna could sing.
Same. But
he's pretty good.
The more
at least for this song, he certainly is.
I listen to it, and there's more time and long. I look forward to watching the opening every single week. Mm-hmm. It was just so much fun. It really embodied it really personified this show as a whole. Now we're going to structure this a little bit differently because I think really what we're going to talk about the most, because the story sort of ties in the most.
We're doing a character-focused one again?
Yes, but I also want to talk about the general tone of the show first.
Okay.
This is a very comedy-focused Sentai.
Yes.
What?
But I think that really, the way that it was presented, the way that it was written, and what they did on a week-per-week basis was so well done.
We talked about this in our, I don't know how we would fix has aired as of recording this.
Which one?
Ultraman Rube.
Nope. No.
Okay, well, in our Ultraman Rube, how we would fix, one of the things we talked about was the comedy in that.
Yeah.
And how it feels like they just kind of made up everything day of.
Yeah.
Like they came in and was like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if, like, he fell down? And that's about as far as it ever seemed to got.
Yeah.
For all of its faults, Zenkaiger might be the funniest Toku I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely the funniest Sentai ever.
The
audacity of this show sometimes.
It's a lot of situational comedy.
Yeah.
A lot of situational comedy and physical comedy. And the gags all feel well set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they all feel well set up, and they all happen at a frequent enough pace that
it doesn't feel like overdone.
It does not feel over. It feels like just the right amount. There's just enough emotional beats. There's just enough comedic beats. And my God, when the comedy hits, my God, does it hit?
It's so good. Like I talked about it in many a thing before we reviewed this, but that Jetman episode, the whole love episode is probably
episode.
The Halloween episode is just like bit after bit after bit. The first episode is hilarious.
The first episode, specifically the moment where where Zuran gets his changer and just shoots one of the minions before they transform, and they're all standing there in their neat line and just bang. And they're just like, well, he's dead.
And then they did it again in the next episode, and then they played it up.
Yeah.
The machine, which she almost shot herself.
She almost shot herself in the foot.
And then, actually in the face. And then Room is just like, what is this? Because that really just embodies their characters.
Yes.
So, oh God, the show. I think one thing that really stood out, two things. They changed the opening, not the song, but the images that were shown in the opening pretty much every single time.
Because it would give you a little preview of what's to come.
Not just that, but it's just like the actual bits that weren't about the preview changed each time after like the first couple of episodes. And I want to talk about one of my favorite things in this show just did.
What's that?
The roll calls. And how they were
They get so creative.
Very rarely ever the same.
They get so creative with them. They always manage to try and do one that is in line with what the theme for that one is.
The world.
Yeah, with the world for that one.
Like the diamond world.
Mm-hmm.
Dia. And that was just like the entire time. And then they brought it back later on with Sapphire World. Just like, it's just Diamond World again. It's just like, I really don't believe that you said that to me. And I'm not him, okay? I love when they reuse stuff.
Wait, you're just Trash World. No, I'm Recycle World.
What's the difference?
Or, what was it, the Bad Luck episode where their roll call is just a complete and utter mess?
The Bad Luck episode, the Love episode again, where it's just that whole thing is just insane.
Yeah.
The one with the copies, when those two came in.
The manga episode?
The manga episode.
This show knew how to use its budget.
Yeah.
They knew where to save and they knew where to spend.
Because the base suit of all the monsters was the same thing. It was just a head that changed.
This is, in terms of monster designs, this is the upgrade of what we saw for Kira Major.
Agreed.
It is, because Kira Major, it was a very Showa-esque design.
Yeah.
It was, just like a dude in, like a spandex onesie with a cape, but then we had the head, and you instantly look at the head, and you're like, oh, I know what that is. It's, it's lipstick, it's speakers, so on and so forth. This one is the same thing, but it's like a more mechanical, like new generation, souped up looking monster body. But it's like just the head is usually what changes.
Yeah.
And mostly you can look at it and tell. There's a couple where I'm like, I'm not sure what they were going for with this design.
Some of them were just like, I think, a bit too Japanese in the way that they were done.
I was gonna say abstract.
Yeah, that too.
It's I'm not. It's like, okay, so the theme is this, but I don't see that visually represented anywhere.
Some were definitely more cultural, like the Daikon world, where it was just like the whole reason why things kept coming back is because people were throwing out the tops of the Daikon.
Yeah. But even in them, like I look at that, I know what the daikon is. The persimmon, I know what that is. Well, he takes his cheeks off, and it's like, oh, it's a dried persimmon. I understand now.
the jokes on that one, they got tricked. Yes. I was just like, what is happening? Uh-huh. But like some of the ways that the world worked, I should say, were one of the things I didn't always get initially just by looking at them, but in other ways you definitely got how things worked the further they went along. Like once again, the Diamond episode, they couldn't even write anything but Dia, and I think that's it. Oh my god, Dia,
the magnet monster.
Oh my god,
it gave us a Terminator 2 reference. Something I never thought I would see in Sentai. But when Vroom gets stuck between the truck and the car, and he goes, I'll be back, and he does the thumbs up and just slips over. And I was like, oh my god.
They have a lot of very, weird... The tennis one, which has turned out to be a whole Prince of Tennis episode because Stacy's actor was in the figure.
I was thinking Prince of Tennis as well when that happened. I was like, okay, so the Sentai is now Prince of Tennis. Let's do this.
He was in the Prince of Tennis stage show.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah. They also had a whole thing where Zuran got hit and they said his balls exploded.
I do have an issue with the subtitles.
I think it should
I don't know who subtitled this.
Overtime.
At least the version I watched.
Overtime did them all.
Sometimes it felt like they took a little too many liberties.
I think it's because the joke worked better.
It was the language that they used was like, okay, that's a little too teenage American slang for something a Japanese speaking robot would be saying.
To be fair, depending on which one, because Zeron would definitely do that. We saw how he came in.
I'm talking about some of the monsters too. One of the monsters when they kill it says, "Don't hate the player, hate the game." I'm like, that's no.
The monsters actually make a lot of references when they die. Like when the big ones that they made a lot of references, especially to songs. Mm-hmm. A lot of city pop. That was
okay, but that's city pop, not Bad Boys 2. That's not what I was expecting.
Hate the game.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I love this show.
You can tell.
What else before we get into the actual characters?
I gotta go back to that magnet episode. Freaking the scene where Majini gets stuck under a bunch of stuff, but this is one of the reasons why I know they took their time setting their gags up. she falls over, and then like the vending machine scoots into frame behind her, and then just tips over and falls on top of her. The bad luck episode again, where oh my god, like when they're fighting the monster at the end of the bad luck episode, and they're just like, it's just like tripping. It's just like, how did you choreograph this so well and shoot it so well? Where they are just endlessly tripping over each other, falling over each other, losing pieces of their costumes. There's like stuff falling from the sky,
I think
and like
the bad luck
production assistants off screen just like throwing clothes at them.
The bad luck episode.
It is controlled chaos in the best way.
It's so funny because whenever they open something, the
bad luck, very bad luck.
So it was just so funny how they would have to go like just try not to open anything. Next thing you know, they're opening a door.
They're opening a door, and there it is. And they're like, oh! The reactions are just like, dang it!
I think, weirdly enough, one of my favorite ones is the facing wind, the forewind.
Right.
Like, they were just like, every single time they tried to go somewhere, they would just have a wind they would have to fight against.
Yeah.
And they went back into colorful and opened the door, and next thing you know, Yasuni is just standing on the other side. And there's just wind just or like at the end of the episode where they had to defeat the monsters, so they turn like they are facing this way and fire the cannon, so the cannon goes back behind them to kill the monsters.
I have to bring another thing up. Their big cannon that they get, and how it's so powerful that it blows him, like he can't like just shoot it. It like blows him backwards.
Has to be braced.
And like the first time we see them shoot it as a team, and it's like they all go like a big wave goes up.
It's so good.
And that brings me to, I think, one of the show's biggest strengths in terms of its action, and it's how they are able to use powers and powers of the monsters and powers of their own, and also just the situation of which they are in such interesting and funny ways.
Yeah.
And it's because like the choreography is not, it's fine. It's not great. The camera work, it's fine. It's not great. But the way they use the situational ways they adapt to the fight scenes, are what really make it stand above its peers.
Even just using the Sentai gears in some cases, like they got really intricate with a lot of the way that the gears that they use. Like they had,
Yago will yell at them, "Hey, use this power now!"
Yago, Sechet.
Calling Yago.
One of the episodes where I can't remember exactly which monster they were fighting, but they used the Turbo Ranger gear, and Zox used the Turbo Ranger gear. And they had one episode of Turbo Ranger where apparently somebody else was blue for one episode, so they had him use the extra blue.
Interesting.
And everybody else used that one.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, they had some real deep cuts in this show. Like the Gokaiger one just had them switch the weapons around. I just honestly know that people were pissed, but I'm just like, well...
Can we talk some more about the Jetman episode? When that episode first aired, the two of you used the word offensive.
No, I did.
Oh, no, I was offended.
You said it. He said it too. He absolutely said it too.
No, I was offended.
Offended is not the word I would use.
No.
I would use the word... I don't think I've ever laughed harder at a monster's death than I did.
It was so good.
The Jetman one.
You have to remember, at the time, I was seeing it out of context. Somebody's just sent me that moment on Twitter.
But the way they cast...
It was a side-by-side comparison.
Oh, yeah. But the way
That's
they
offensive.
cast this scene...
Oh, absolutely.
Of having Zox get as the lady who gets her purse snatched. And... He instead of pulling a knife out, he pulls like a little mini version of his like pickaxe. But then it grows huge and it guts him with it. But then he's sitting...
In context, this is the greatest thing.
He's just sitting on the bench. And then it's just like the color fades out. And it's just dead silence. And then he just freaking explodes in the loudest explosion ever. It's so perfect.
Favorite. I will talk about that episode for years to come.
Yeah.
I know I will. Because it was so wonderfully set up.
Yes.
I like that episode, the Halloween episode. I don't know what it was about that episode. They just went balls to the wall with the comedy on this one. But I still think my favorite moment is when Zox, Flint, and their younger brothers find the
Ricky
monster.
And Kuttner.
Find the monster in a tunnel.
Right.
And the monster is like, oh no, and he gets up and then Zox starts dancing and transforming and the monster's just walking away. He's like, why is he dancing? And then he goes around the corner and Zox is just there.
Spooky.
It was...
Motherfucker, you will watch my dance.
It was so fun. No, he was already transformed and standing on the wall like this.
Yep.
I'm just like, how? And it was... They do so well with comedic timing in this show. It's amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to talk about the Katatsu episode.
Oh my god, I love that episode.
Where everyone is stuck under a Katatsu and they're too comfy to move. So you talk about using the powers in interesting ways. They use the Lupin Ranger? No, the Pato Rangers. And they merge into one Katatsu, and then they hook them, and then they bring them in on the freaking anchor of the ship, and they're just like spinning around and shooting.
And then they hit the monster.
And then they hit the monster like a wrecking ball. Like, it was great.
Using Lucky, his luck.
It's like, oh yeah, we need luck. Use Q Ranger.
They just got
we
really...
need cats. Use these guys.
The Goggle 5 one
with the ribbons.
I think that was the moment where I'm just like,
all I could think of was you bought the ribbons.
I think my favorite, I think that was the moment where I was just like, I'm sold on this show. One, because they were immediately smart. Kaito walks outside, looks around, and then looks up and just like, because there's a monster in Ijiru. I'm just like, all right, I think they're the show is it presents itself really silly. But I think, weirdly enough, the characters themselves are really smart.
Do we want to move on to characters?
Yes, let's talk about
before we do, Matt, are there any moments that stick out to you? Because you haven't really said much.
Well, that's because you guys say everything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's absolutely fine because you word it better than I ever would.
Oh. Well, in your own words, what is one that we haven't mentioned that you think really stuck out to you?
Oh, one that you haven't mentioned?
It could be what we have mentioned, anything that stuck out to you.
Jetman will always stick out to me. That's just not fair.
It was just unfair. I actually have another one. The episode, it was after the god got formally introduced, which we'll talk about that because I think it was done well, but I do have sort of mixed feelings on it. But I think it was the one where he kept telling them what monster was going to come next.
Right, that was episode 40.
Yeah,
I think,
and the bat one comes out, and the bat's just hanging down.
He's hanging upside down.
And then they come over there and jump him so hard.
They just beat the snot out of him.
He was like, you came to the wrong motherfucking neighborhood. Zenkai!
That was some red
Zenkai over to the head!
That was some red man shit.
It was just like, wow. And then
I was just laying here.
And then he pulls out a golden bat with nails.
Yep.
And I'm just like, wow. How dare you? And then they just beat the shit out of him. Yep. They got really smart on some, I think it was the next one where, the monster... No, I actually think it was the bat one. Where they used Dynaman? Or Goggle 5, where they put out the umbrella to, block the rays back at him.
I think that was Sapphire.
It was either one of them. But I just was like, wow, they got really smart on that. Just we're going to plan ahead. I love this show. All right, let's talk about the characters. Let's start off with the villains, because I think they're the weakest part of it.
I agree.
Yeah. Bokawasu, Ijirude, and the dad.
Pull up the wiki real quick. Bokawasu was voiced by somebody I know. It's Professor Bias.
Yep.
It's Professor Bias himself. Bokawasu, I loved the gag of him slamming his fist and bouncing everyone.
And then at the end of it, when they came up to him the first time, it's like, you're here to sit him.
Yep. You're not supposed to be here yet. Boom. But just the moments where he'll come back to the base and he's just angry and just smashing his fist over and over, and the Giroud and Tankman are just Barashtara are just bouncing over and over again on a trampoline. I will give them credit. He is just a big
wall
face.
For most of it.
He's just a big wall, and he's just smashing his fist because he's angry. And
honestly, it's
credit where credit's due. They did it better than Zuoder when it comes to immovable final boss.
I think it's because, really enough, it's although they didn't do much, they really had a lot of personality.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You could describe the show in one word. It would be personality.
Yeah.
When it comes to its characters.
Yeah. I really appreciate just a lot of the things they just did in this show. They really went balls to the wall with this.
But how do you feel about him as a main villain?
In all honesty, because
I would say serviceable.
I would definitely say serviceable.
That's a good word.
Especially because he didn't turn out to be the final villain of this show.
Yes.
But
We'll
I
get
think,
to that.
really enough, the final villain, because looking back at it, the final villain was always there.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of weirdly done in some cases. Bar Shitara, I do want to talk about him because his whole thing ties into Stacy.
Again, I'm going to say serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He comes off...
He's angry general man.
And he also comes off a lot more evil than he was. The dude has like 800 and something wives, and basically every single one has died, including Stacy's mom.
She didn't have it going on.
No.
Damn
Due to something...
Damn it.
Due to something that Tokucast did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I really appreciated him, how he came off a little bit more ruthless than everybody else. Ijirude, he might have been the weakest of the three to me.
I can understand why. He's the cackling evil scientist who's scheming and
He did.
doing a lot of stuff.
He, pretty much he stole all of his ideas from Kaito's parents.
Yeah.
And
So he's not that smart.
it made Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's definitely serviceable. He definitely has his moments. Especially when he's getting yelled at. I think I enjoyed that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
I like how there's only a few of them.
This is just a three.
As far as the bad guys go, there really are only like 3, 4, depending on the episode.
They do say it's a dynastic.
Yeah.
It is a dynasty, so it is a dynastic set of villains and everything. And Boko Wells makes a point where he's just like the most recent. He has parents and things like that, I guess. I'm gonna save Stacy for the actual heroes
Because of what comes later.
Yeah, but Gege. How do we want to talk about Gege here?
Evil robot Toucan Sam?
He was basically the opposite of Senchan for this.
Yeah.
Do we want to put God here? Kami-sama? Might as well.
We can, yeah.
Because Gege was half Kami-sama for half of the show. Thoughts?
This could have been handled better.
A little bit.
Agreed.
Once the actual... It feels like they got to episode 44, or like whenever like the final like 4-episode arc starts. I think it was 44 or 45. But whenever that starts, it almost feels like the writers went, man, this has been so much fun. We've been having a great time, and the show's almost over. Oh my God, the show's almost over! Plot, put some plot in here. Yeah, there you go. And that's what it felt like.
The thing is, like, once again, looking back at it, because you can tell when Kami-sama is there and Gege is.
Yeah.
Because Gege doesn't always know.
But did it really, I don't know, it kind of feels like they just kind of went, oops, it was God.
Yeah, but I feel like for the way that the show is sort of set up with all the worlds, it's just like he just basically left them there, and he either destroyed them or didn't do anything.
I mean, it's like, in a way, I kind of like what they were doing, where it's like he is a god, and he cares not for what the little people think. It's just like, it's like, oh, I created them, I'll leave this one, I'll go do something else. Because I'm God, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
There is an arrogantness to him.
Yeah, definitely.
That I like, and it is, for want of a better phrase, holier than thou.
It works in this case.
It does. And I think the multiple actors that play him do a good job.
Yeah.
Because the way it works is he possesses people.
Yeah.
And so, you have multiple actors playing him, and I think they all do a good job of conveying that just smugness and just like, I'm so much better than you.
Especially the whole reason why he was with the Toji channel in the first place is like, all right, Ijiru figured out a way to basically encapsulate everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I fix things.
Yeah,
because he couldn't. He said that there's nothing that he could do in that case, but this time he felt like he could actually fix something, but he didn't give them the option, which is what Kaito had the biggest problem with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that final part, we can talk about the final battle here. Basically, them fighting inside the
of his head,
and ending in the most Zenkaiger way with rock paper, scissors
in. Toei, I will ask again, do you watch our show? Because I have complained in the past on multiple shows, whether that be Build, whether that be Ghost, where we need an episode where we can just breathe and maybe handle things in a way that isn't punch the thing in the face.
Yeah.
Zenkaiger does that.
Yeah, because Kaito realized...
And for the most part, it does it really well, because the finale of Zenkaiger is, for the most part, we're taking a minute to, like, reflect on what has happened. We're coming to terms with who created everything that has happened. Okay, punching him doesn't work. We're going to resolve this in a more creative way. And even then, there's, like, still 10 minutes of the episode left where we're going to give you a moment with your parents and a moment with Yachan and moments with everyone else.
When you talk about Kaito, man, that last episode hit me so hard, and I don't know why.
And it's like we're actually going to give time to you as a character to reflect on everything that's happened. We're going to give you time with you and your friends, and we're going to send you off in a way that isn't just, yay, we beat the bad guy. I wish the God stuff had been done better. But 10 out of 10. But like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
One of the best finales ever.
I think the thing that really made that scene of, Rock Paper Scissors was the way it was shot. Because everything happens in the overworld first. You see that one of them lost, but you don't know which one did.
It's because you see them... they put their hands out. One is paper, one is scissors, but
one is rock.
Well, one is rock, one is paper. And the way they do it, it match cuts to Kaito in the real world, and like God is over here and Kaito is over here. So it looks like Kaito lost from the way they match cut it, but then they cut back to the inner world
and they reversed it.
And they panned down, and it was a reverse shot. And it's like, oh, Kaito picked paper, he won. And the way God accepts his defeat of just like, well, all right. I guess you beat me then.
Sure.
Fine, here you go. Take your stuff back.
Have fun. Well, I guess I'll just go be God somewhere else and do a little bit better at taking care of the worlds that I've created. And I'll sit here like, you know what? Lesson learned. All right. Let's get to the characters. I want to start off with the zoo.
Get to the heroes.
With the Kikanoids first. Okay. Before we get to Kaito's office.
Okay, so start with Ziran?
Yes. I loved him.
Oh, he was great.
He was good.
He was just funny. He was just old man.
Who gave no shits.
I appreciated him. And
I appreciated him from episode 1.
I love
how it works.
Like the issues that he had was because, in all honesty, the Kikanoids didn't get a lot of focus. But I feel like it was much more of an ensemble in some cases.
Yeah,
I feel like everyone got enough focus.
Yeah.
And they do it in smart ways. By that I mean, like, we'll have like a theme or like a guest character or whatnot for an episode, or tie it in with the theme of the monster for the episode, and it'll be them exploring a facet of their personality, whether it's curiosity or interest in fortune telling or whatever it is about them.
Yeah.
That we know. Let's explore that a little more. And try and build off on it and see how they are the way they are.
Especially the issues that Ziran had with Zox. How they, really did that episode to actually, like, really get them together so they don't have a lot of animosity between them. Especially because that incorporates a lot into Zox's growth as a character as the show goes along. But Ziran was also the oldest. He took care of Majine when, she was younger.
That scene was so sweet.
It really was. I really appreciated what they did with him as, one, the old man, but really sort of the dad of that entire cast.
I didn't really get old man vibes from him. It was more like teen dad.
To be fair, they sort of did that as a joke sometimes where his back hurt. But other than that,
yeah, but in Japan, you're also considered old once you hit 25.
It's fair. It's very fair.
Japan is stupid.
The ship was real in episode 17. You're just like, we're just going to pair him and go on together. And I was like, you know what? They really did do that in episode 17. They were just like, you know what? Gay people over here, lesbian over here, everybody else. And I'm just like, you know what? Kaito with ice cream. Which he got sad when it melted. And you know what? I understand that. Would have been better if he had gelato because it doesn't melt as fast, but that's just me.
I mean, you could just drink it,
That's fair.
It tastes good.
But yeah, I really enjoyed what they did with Ziran's character. It's just like, he was really constant through this. And I think that really, he grounded the team pretty well. For just outside of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He is very practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing that comes with age. To be fair. Gaon.
Well, before we move on, you two, is there any episode for Ziran that really stands out for you, or any moment for him that stands out?
The one with the Kotatsu.
Yeah.
He was the one.
Because he's hot and he doesn't want to be under there
I
anymore.
understand that though, because I heat up so quickly.
Yeah.
So just like he didn't want to be under there and turn into a cat like everybody else.
That you?
I was agreeing with him.
Okay. For me, it's the invisibility episode.
Oh, yeah.
That was so good.
The invisible where he becomes invisible and still finds a way to use that mishap for good.
And once again, during the roll call of that episode, where the thing didn't know where to be.
Yeah, it was like oh, here he is.
I love the fact that they really enough personified like their actual symbol
Yep.
on the back of
That
the
like episode where it falls on top of it.
Oh my god, it was so good. Gaon. I think weirdly enough that he got the most growth because they had to give him a reality check really hard.
A little bit, yeah.
He was just like, care about everybody, not just about, the humans.
Things that are soft.
Yeah, the humans and, the animals and stuff. You're supposed to care about everybody. We're heroes protecting these people. Not just a specific set of people, we're protecting everybody. So he got reality checks real hard. I had really enjoyed Gaon after he calmed down.
Yeah.
After he decided, I'm not going to be an asshole anymore. Really enough, I think it was the episode where Sechan went back in time. And they ended up doing that whole thing all over again. Just like, this sort of encapsulates how far he's come as a character.
Any moments or episodes stand out for him?
Probably his initial one, actually.
I wouldn't say any stand out. They're all pretty good. I wouldn't pick one
Yeah.
specifically.
Honestly, one of the things that just stuck out to me the most was his design. I felt was a nice contrast with his personality.
Yeah.
He looked
like Kenji over in Battle Fever.
I was like Kenji Over in Battle Fever. He has more of a tough guy look, but he's very sweet.
Yeah.
He's very sweet, and he just loves soft things, and he loves cuddles and
cooking.
and cooking, and I really like that. I like that contrast in the visual and the personality.
Yeah. Like pretty much everybody in the show. Let's talk about Majine.
Majine.
Honestly, my favorite episode with her was the Bad Luck episode. Because she was the one who sort of solved that.
One of my favorites was the invisibility episode, or also, I don't remember if it was the invisibility episode or not, but during the roll call when she gets like super
angry,
where she's like very angry, and it's like, it's one of the best uses of comedic timing in the show, where it's like normal roll call, gets to her, the screen is like dark, and there's like thunder, and she's like, yeah,
and she's like hammering,
I shall curse you.
She's hammering nails into something,
and she's got like her crystal ball, and she's like, I curse you, you fool, I am Majine. And then it just cuts the room, and it's like, happy music again.
I love Majine. This cast, man. It's so unfair.
Majine, the heart and soul. She loves fortune telling. She's not great at it, but she really means well.
I think the thing is she also got more of a backbone as the show went along, because she came in really nervous.
She's very timid.
Yeah, and then she was just like, you know what? No.
Fuck you.
I do think, really enough, the weakest...
There are moments where she just... the moments where Majine is like, I'm done with your poll.
Yeah.
They're some of the best.
Honestly, though, I think she also has maybe the worst episode in the show.
What's that?
It's the character song episode where her song is last and it sort of focuses on her. That episode just wasn't that strong compared to the other ones. I think it's honestly my least favorite. It's still not bad, but...
I can kind of see why that would be your least favorite.
No, it's not even that, because usually I do enjoy character songs. I think it just wasn't paced well. Because they had to work the songs in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Vroom. Mr. Curiosity kills the Gaon.
Do we have any episodes or moments that stand out for you from Majin?
I loved her introduction, honestly.
Her introduction was great. Also, the fact that the first time, they show pretty much the entire first cast in the first episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a nice little...
Yeah, because she's just in the crowd at one point, but she's obviously a main character because she's pink.
Because you can tell because they look different.
Because she's pink.
They're one of the only 5 people in the Kikai world who are like not the same person.
She's great.
Vroom.
It's either the recycle or the trash episode. I think it was the trash episode because he was the only one who cleans everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, Japan has a very rigid system
of like when you put your trash out, what to recycle, what not to.
And
Which good for them.
Sticks to that and sorts all the trash. He gets everybody out of the trash. He's the one who actually has the moment in that episode. I just remember him and Magine next to each other. I think they use the Magic Ranger gear, and Magine does the dance from the ED, from Magic Ranger's ED. And I'm just like, oh, this show, how dare you!
Another deep cut.
Oh, it's so good. But Verdun himself, out of the four, I think he might be my least favorite, but that's not saying a lot because I love everybody. He's still really strong as a character. He's
Again, that's that T2 reference for me.
That's
probably the one that stuck out the most.
The Jetman episode where he gets to be the robber.
Where he gets to be the robber, or the part where his glasses break and the glass gets in his eyes, and he's just flailing around in the background.
I love him. He's adorable.
That, anything for you?
Jetman.
Just the Jetman?
Oh my god, Jetman.
That T2.
The T2 reference.
When he reaches in and pulls out the mini pickaxe.
The one where they would get SD World, who I think was actually voiced because his thing was based on one of the Dinsey men. I think Dinsey Green voiced them.
Oh, do they?
Just Green. Was there a green on that team? Either green or black. One of the two. Whichever one is changeable. Verdun gets turned into one of the SD characters, and Kaito and Zox are talking to each other. And then Kaito turns around because he hears Varun screaming because he's attached to a balloon floating away. Oh my god. A lot of the people in the show just have a lot of moments, and I think that's the thing that's
another moment I'd like to talk about before we move on. I just have to mention it. The nostalgia episode.
Oh,
where everything gets retro.
The Showa.
Where everything gets Showa, and Kaito looks like he walks straight off of the set of like Kamen Rider Ichigo with that long 70s disco hair. The leather jacket. He's got like his shirt is like unbuttoned a couple buttons.
It was like a blend of like Ichigo and like Starsky and Hutch.
It was the 70s.
I know.
And then Zox shows up in like that disco suit.
Oh my god.
With the tassels.
I saw that and I went, literally nothing else would have done.
That episode where they all go back to school.
That's a great one.
And it was basically a Varun focused episode because he was the one who tried to do the best.
Yes.
It was, and then they just kept blowing up.
Yes. That was great.
It was so good.
Shall we move on to...
I'm trying to think, because I do want to talk about Yatsude. Do you want to talk about her before we get to everybody else, or do we want to save her? I want to save her for Stacy.
You talking about Yachan?
Yeah.
We can talk about Yachan and Stacy together.
Yeah, I feel like we sort of have
to.
So shall we talk about Zox next?
Let's talk about Zox.
Zox and Flint and
Katana
and Ricky.
Who, in that final episode, after they get turned back, they made sure they do not speak because they do not sound anything like the voice actors.
They could have been modulated,
but Zox.
But still, Zox. So I was not expecting him to show up as early as he did.
Yeah.
He shows up in episode 9. It's 8 or 9. I think it's 9.
I think it's 8 because Stacy shows up in 6. Yeah.
But either way, when he is introduced, and every time...
Boy. I love it. I love him.
And the song changes every time to fit the theme of the episode.
Whatever he's doing. I love him so much.
Every henshin starts with a little hip dip to get the transformation started.
He's going to dance more often than not.
Yeah.
And if you try to run away, he will find you.
He will find you.
I do like the fact that they sort of wrapped his story up with SD... Well, with the actual world to get...
Because they wrapped him up rather early on, but then they give him a reason to come back later to help his friends.
Also, they did a smart thing where it's just like he left after the SD World episode.
Yep.
And they removed him from the opening in that episode because neither one of them showed up.
Yeah.
And then they came back, and they were back in the opening again. But him as a character, I loved his character arc where he just like had to calm down.
He is a bastard man in every sense of the word.
Yes.
He cares about himself, he cares about his sister, he cares about his two brothers, and nothing else. The rest of you, I don't care. You are but obstacles for me to dance around as I get to the treasure.
As long as it's fun.
Yeah.
We'll steal it.
He's just there for fun.
Yeah.
They're all there for fun.
But he grows to care about, the rest of the cast.
Yes, he does.
Especially with his interactions with the rest of the Kikanoids and Kaito. And even Stacy, as the show goes along.
I mean, like the second to last episode, but they're the ones who are fighting alongside each other against Barashidara.
That episode. I can't wait to talk about Stacy because I think I'm most excited to talk about him in this show.
Anything about Flint or Cutner and Riki?
I liked Flint. She
had some great face acting.
Yeah.
So many moments where there's like shenanigans going on and they'll just like cut back to her and she's just like...
And she's the smart one.
Just freaking out.
Like when she gets possessed by Kami at the end of the show to go do something to the portal.
Yep.
And then she comes back, like, what is happening?
What's going on? Wait, what?
She has great face acting. It's just like,
yes,
they had a lot of good chemistry together.
Everyone in this show, yes.
They really did. Zox was just like...
You really believe they're siblings.
Yeah. And, Zox was pretty... Once SD World came on, it's just like, he's done. He just wants to get that taken care of so he can take care of his brothers. Mm-hmm. And I completely and utterly get that, because that was sort of the whole goal, but, he really cooled towards everybody else in the show.
And then when it's like, well, I took care of that, now I can change them back to little robots whenever they want.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, though, about Cutner and Riki. I liked that they changed their facial expressions every now and then.
Instead of just having
like a static, like, toy animatronic face they always cut to. They gave them happy eyes or angry eyes, and they changed their mouths. They would animate a little mouth on them. And you know what? All the points for the effort.
And I really like what they did with Zox's suit, because his is the only one who actually changed depending on which form he used.
Yeah.
I wish he used Orin a little bit more, but that's more because I really like hand-to-hand fighting.
Yeah.
I like the Shinkenger form, too.
Also,
he
did the same thing to Barashidara twice, where like Barashidara stabs through like a grate or something, and Zox wraps his leg around it so he can't pull it back, and then transforms in the middle of doing that. Zox just has a lot of cool moments in this show. And I think the thing I most appreciated about during this, he never joined their roll call.
He was always by himself.
Yeah. I love that.
Matt, anything stick out for you for any of these?
Really just the one you brought up earlier where he walks away from the dance. I love those types of moments.
When they were about to do the roll call, and Kaito wanted him to join, and he was like, no. And just walked away, and they did the roll call by themselves. He never joins it, and I love it. Breaking that trend. I'm not doing this. Y'all enjoy. All right. Let's talk about Kaito. I want to say Stacy for last.
Okay.
Kaito.
I really liked him. I loved everything with his
I haven't said it yet, but everyone in this show is perfectly cast.
Yeah.
Everyone in this show is so perfectly cast.
Yeah.
This guy, the actor's name...
Kita Kamagine.
The energy level is always where it should be. Great physicality. He has a unique look. I don't mean that in any kind of insulting way, but like with the bowl cut and the piercings and the fashion sense.
Yeah, he had piercings. It took me a
couple of piercings in his ears.
It took me a long time to notice
his fashion sense kind of looks like Marty McFly circa Back to the Future 2.
Really?
So it's in a good way.
Yeah.
It is. I mean this all in a good way. And it's just such a unique look for a character in a Sentai, because usually... It's like, we're going to give you a color and, like, we'll cast someone who is, like, generically handsome. Like, generically handsome teenager, or, like,
number
20-something.
Yeah.
And then you come to him, and it's like, he's got such a unique look. The pierced ears, the silly, like, poofy vests and everything that he wears.
I actually do sort of want that vest, too. It looks comfy.
It does look comfy. I mean... This show is so great at embracing the inherent goofy nature of what Toku is, of what Toku can be, and they lean into it, but they embrace it with such sincerity. It never tries to make a joke out of itself.
Yeah.
And I think Kaito is one of the best examples of that, because as the leader, like the first time we meet him, he's trying to bungee jump, I think, off Tokyo Tower.
Yeah.
Or like whatever, like the needle is in this case. He's trying to bungee jump off that, but like there's such an earnestness to him And, like, he truly believes that, like, I'm going to do something great today.
Yeah. I want to be the first.
Don't have a good day.
I want to be
have
the
a great day.
First in the world to do this.
Yes. And we, like, even though he's been without his parents for so long, the flashbacks that we get of them together, we see how that has shaped him. He's got a loving family life with Yachan, and, we see him help out at the store. He's a great leader.
Also, everything with Kaiser. After he figures out that that's his dad, it's just like, he, like I said, he has a really interesting look, and I think it really works even when you're switching from the comedy to the more dramatic scenes.
Yeah.
I'm really appreciating, like,
and
what
a lot of that has to do with the fact that, again, this show is perfectly cast. And he can really sell the comedy, he can sell the action, and when the drama moments happen, he can sell that too. Also, his relationship with Stacy, where he wanted Stacy to first be his friend, just like at the future, like a part of his family. Yeah. I loved everything about him. And I am so excited to see more of him in Dawn Brothers, playing basically a completely different version. Oh, so it's going to be the same actor playing the black Zenkaiger? Mm-hmm. Before we move on, we got to talk about the suits. We have to talk about the suits before we move on. All of them.
I'm surprised I didn't bring it up. Yeah. I'm out of it.
The civilian outfits for everyone, and I include the Kikainoids, I include Zox and everyone, they are perfect. There is no other word to describe them. They are perfect. Yeah. Their Sentai outfits are perfect. They are just the right amount of... It's like just the right amount of design. It's just the right amount of... I can see what Sentai this is taking influence from. Yeah. It's like they get the Kikainoids, like, they get bulked up enough, but not too much. There's not too much accessories. Zenkaiger's suit might be the best suit in Toku history. He really does like this suit a lot. It's so beautiful. It's like the perfect color balance. It's the big one suit, but it's good. The only thing I'm upset about is we still never got a green to match his suit. We got a purple. We never got a green. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. That might be in the movie next year. Who knows? Because Kira Major versus Zenkai did get announced. Now that I am excited for. Now that I am very interested to see. And it's, I believe, it's Zenkaiger's. What's that? Two of the best Sentai ever getting a team-up movie? Well, I believe this couldn't have come fast enough. I believe it's Zenkaiger's writer who's doing it as well. So does that mean we will see the Kira Majors engaged in shenanigans that we have seen in Zenkaiger? More than likely. Because that makes me happy. I want to see that. Kaito, oh my god. He might be one of my, like, up there, just... In terms of... Because we can't call him the Red Ranger. No, he's white. But he's the leader. The leader. In terms of leaders, Red Rangers, whatever you want to say, he ranks as S tier as one of the best. Yeah. Absolutely one of the best. Yeah. Hard agree. He's just amazing. Shall we move on to Stacy and Yachan? Ah, Stacy. Stacy and Yachan. For a character who was supposed to die early on. He got really the most in this show. At least it's like a temp worker, but they were impressed with the work he was doing, so they kept him on. Because he auditioned, and then they just said, we're just going to give you a part, and then he got uber popular. Really? Yeah. Because I was joking, but wow. Yeah, he basically... So he was just going to be like for a few episodes. They wrote a part for him. Huh. And then he got uber popular. Huh. And so they gave him... I mean, with bangs like that, who wouldn't? He is beautiful. His hair... Oh... I half expected someone to yell, "Who does your bangs?" in the middle of a fight, because it's like long and like perfectly coiffed. He's got the bangs that like fringe over to one side and like braids on the other side. He's amazing. He's very handsome. He got probably the emotional story because Kaito got his dad back. Yeah. Because his relationship with Hakaiser is very different than Kaito's, because I feel like for Stacy, he saw sort of what he wanted. Mm-hmm. Not just as a friend, but when he finds out... As a family. Yeah, with Kaito's dad. You know, that was basically his heel face turn, where he's just like, I'm going to give you back your family, because
this is something that means a lot to you, and this is something that I never had.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, he wanted to be a little bit selfish and keep that for himself, but he saw how much that was hurting Kaito and Yatsude. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, Stacy got the emotional impact of this show.
Yeah.
And I love that they did that with him.
Mm.
I think his story arc was so strong. And just seeing the emotions that he had, especially with Yachan. That scene near the end where he tells her everything that he's done was ad-libbed.
Really?
Yes. That whole thing and her reaction was pretty much just ad-libbed.
Holy shit.
Again, this show is perfectly cast because, jeez.
The emotion that they packed, not just together but as separate characters, was just so well done. And that's the thing that's sort of, like, I loved everything else that was going on with the shenanigans and such, but the emotional impact of Stacy, Yachan, Kaito, Kaiser, and really just the entire cast really kept drawing me back each week. Because I really wanted to see what the conclusion was going to be for Stacy. How was he going to turn to the side of good at the end of the show? Especially because, let's face it, we expected him to die. And then he didn't. And I was incredibly happy. Because I would have been very upset if Stacy died at the end of this show.
Aside from that scene you were talking about with him and Yachan near the end, is there any scene or moment for him that stands out to you?
When he summons Jakku the first time, and Zox summons Big One.
That's really good.
It was so funny. His whole thing with his dad. I'm talking about Barashitara. He hated that man. And to be fair, as he should.
I mean, Barashitara was kind of a...
He was trash. He was not a father. He was not what he saw in Hakaiser as, with Kaito. And I love their dynamic as the show went along as well. Because they start off, Stacy was very antagonistic because he just wanted to be better than his dad. And he thought that the only way he could do that is to get rid of, the people who were fighting against the Tojo Shindo. And then he realizes, that's not really what I want. What I want is basically what Kaito has. He wants the family aspect of the people that he's found. And, Kaito basically, at this point, had a chosen family. And Stacy never really had that. He's been on his own for so long, ever since his mother died. And I think that really gets encapsulates in the episode where people start coming back to life. And Stacy's mom is one of the people. That was a heart-wrenching episode for him because he was lost once his mom came back. He did not know what to do, especially when Barashitara sees her and just like, oh, you're back, whatever. I don't really care who you are, yeah. And, especially after that when the monster turns all the resurrected people evil and Kaito ends up coming to save him because Stacy does not want to fight back against his mother. He had the best emotional moments in this show, and I loved it. I loved watching everything that had to do with him. I loved watching everything that had to do with Yatsude. And Yatsude at the end of the show telling Kaito, the whole reason that you stayed here was because, your parents weren't here, so you really wanted to take care of me, and I get that, and thank you. But you haven't really had a life of your own. Go in and do something. Go and do what you want.
Go be your own person.
Yeah, go and be your own person. I love that.
The door's always open, and you can come back and get a son.
Yeah. The door's always open for you. Just go out and do your own thing. Go visit the other worlds, which is what they do after he speaks to the camera. Oh, that moment where he speaks to the camera.
He breaks the fourth wall a bit. And then they look back at him like, who are you talking to?
Great question. I don't know. But yeah, Stacy was the standout for it. And in my opinion, I think Stacy was the standout of the show. Like, everybody was good, but the fact that, one, they kept Stacy around and just everything that happened with him, I really think that Stacy turned to be the star of the show at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can see that argument.
I didn't love Stacy the way you did, but I did like what he did with what they did with his character. I think he's a very good actor, very well cast. He's able to sell the action beats. He can sell comedy beats when he needs to. Really good at selling the emotional stuff. Yachan is great. We didn't talk a lot about her, but I love Yachan. It's not often we get like Do we have a lot of grandmas and grandpas in Sentai? A lot of grandparents?
Tendo, talked about his, but we never saw her.
Yeah, but, actually having one who's there and is a constant familial presence throughout, I thought she was very good.
Especially, what was that episode? Like the first episode, the first person that Kaito thanks to help him fight the Toji Tendo
Is his grandma.
Is his grandma.
His grandma.
And his grandmother.
And there's just the montage of images with her and the gun and the explosions in the background. She's like, yeah, no.
I'm good. I'm going to stay at my candy store.
I still think, personally, since we got to the end of this is not my... It's up there as one of my top 3.
I can see that.
After watching, I feel like I've grown to appreciate it more as we've been discussing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think Kira Major has become my favorite Sentai. I think Kira Major has risen to that spot, and I think this takes number 2. I think this might take number 2 or 3. But this would probably be a top 3 for me as well.
Yeah, it's definitely top 3 for me. Like, Deca Ranger's still going to be my number 1, but I think this might just number 2.
This is definitely top 5.
This is number 1.5.
1.5. 1.5.
This is definitely top 5, from the very least for me.
Yeah. This show is so good. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it.
Yes, please do. Please do yourself the service. Thank us later.
Unfortunately.
Next
I
time.
have to talk about something.
What?
Oh.
I have to talk about something. I'm sorry. This is one.
Go for it.
There's a moment that I remember. We were talking about the
I
finale.
watched it happen.
We were talking about the finale earlier. Do you remember the finale of Garo VR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he is emulating the fighting styles of all of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They do that in this one, and I mean it's like not the edgelord version the way Garo VR was.
Where he just in his mind he transforms.
In his mind, he transforms into them, and it's all practical in camera as opposed to CGI. Not that there's I mean nothing against Garo VR. I adore that show to pieces, but I just had to mention that because it was just so good, and it reminded me of Garo VR.
It was very
I
well
love
done.
that scene. It was great.
Because the guy even mentions these are the people who have meant the most to you
Yeah.
on this journey that you've had,
Mm-hmm.
and you just transform everybody, ending with Stacy. So I was just
They do.
that final fight between Stacy, Zox, and Barshidora was so good.
It was great.
Especially because Flint supported them at the end of it when there was the blast off,
Mm-hmm.
where it turned into DBZ for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Next time.
Okay.
we didn't talk about
what?
the mechs at all. They exist.
Yeah, I really wasn't the biggest fan of the mechs.
Honestly, it wasn't so much the mechs themselves, but the fights each time were pretty just different.
I'll give it that. It was
I think
definitely-
that's the thing that I sort of appreciated the
Ish.
most about the mechs fights, was they were just like...
The mech fights kind of lost me because one of the things that I liked about Kira Major's mech fights is when they blow the monster up, it's dead. It doesn't come back as a bigger monster, but they fight another bigger threat that has a similar skill set.
This is just a copy.
And this one, it's like there's a big, robot dinosaur that comes in,
That is all.
steps on the little coin thing.
Who also have personalities of their own.
Yeah,
They get overridden,
but they get overridden immediately, so it's like, I die for the cause, that sort of thing.
I just remember one of them coming in and just like, I was also here.
But then we have the robot dinosaur with the head of the monster on top of it, and they do some clever things with the environment. Like they'll change the surroundings to a forest,
And some of the fights end up changing because of it as well.
yeah, and they do some interesting things.
The
with how
sushi
it's-
monster, for example.
Yeah.
We're just giant sushi, and they have to go behind each other. It's so crazy. Before they all had to
But
make
yeah,
sushi.
they do some interesting things with it, but I just wish it were better.
Yeah, yeah.
In this case, though, I think it's because of the way that they were going. It's just they really did incorporate, at least for a good portion of them. We're going to do something a little bit different with these next fights, where it's not just going to be fight.
A lot of it is they change the environment.
Well, sometimes they have to fulfill a condition.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that sort of just makes it better for me.
It also helps that because the Kikainoids, they become the mechs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this in the Kira Major review, but it's something I really like that they stuck with, is they don't have a super giant, ultra big mech that everything combines into.
Well, they did.
I mean, not to the extent we've seen in the past. Kira Major certainly didn't do it.
Because they had like the jet form of the cannon that everybody else
but it's
CGI.
I know, but it's not like we combine everyone together and now we're just like a big mess of action figures slammed together.
Go on, sure. I think is what he's.
That is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that I loved about Kira Major is like we had our mechs and we kept them separate. It wasn't they never combined into like Super Optimum Mega Mech.
The only real time that we had like a
Super
combiner,
Optimum Mega Mech, I think, should be the name of the band.
or the next Transformer. They had the only time that they really had between like Zox and Kaito was when they made the Q-Rex.
Yeah.
Or the V-Rex, rather. Mm-hmm. That was the only real thing they did. And I love how their personality is just like, not always. This isn't always going to be a thing.
That's another thing that sold it was personality.
Yeah.
The personality of the mechs themselves, but also of Kaito leading the charge.
Yeah. And I did enjoy, the super forms as well. I think Kaito's just a little bit bulky, but what can you do? And the fact that
see, for me, I thought I was kind of the opposite. I wanted Gold to have a little more going on.
Oh yeah, he did just basically just get a chest piece.
He just got the head on the
giant chest. Gun out of it. Yeah,
I think that'll do it.
Yeah,
because nothing else is jumping in my head.
I did like the whole thing with the Kaiser going back and then having to go find the mom because she escaped earlier.
She escaped.
See, now it's my turn to be looking forward to a review. Mainly for your torture.
Because next, we're reviewing Kamen Rider Saber. Goody gumdrops.
It's going to be a good, bad, and terror bad, but that good part is going to be short.
I mean, this was kind of a good, bad, terror bad as well. We didn't summarize the entire plot.
But I think it's one because the show just finished.
Well, the thing is, we did summarize the entire plot. It didn't happen until the last 4 episodes.
That's fair.
And, pretty much the characters for this show.
That's also fair.
Bad.
But, no, it's absolutely going to be a good, bad, terror bad review.
Oh, yes.
But this is just going to be my Kamen Rider equivalent to the Kyoryuji review, where I love this show. It's fucking terrible, but I love it. Holy shit, there are things I cannot forgive, but I had so much fun watching it.
And if you haven't watched our last couple of videos, some of them have just been excuses for Marcus to rant about something he is upset about, whether that be a particular show or whatnot. And you mentioned to me off camera, Marcus, that it's been a while since we had just a full-on Rantocast review. I'm trying to remember, what was the last one you think we did? Where we were just very angry. I want to say it was...
Hibiki was
I want to say it was Build.
I was going to say Trigger.
Trigger, yeah, but in terms of, the review itself, the Build review, I think is one of the reviews that we've done that I'm most proud of. Just because
we tore it apart.
We tore that show to pieces, but we had a lot to talk about. Trigger was 20 minutes of this sucks.
Oh no, Saber is going to be very, very similar to Build, where we're going to pick apart.
I really want to because that review, the Ghost review, our X8 review, because whether it's good or bad, my favorite reviews are the ones where we can really dive deep and get into what really made us tick about the show.
Like this one, like
Zenkaiger, or
No, this one was just us jerking off Zenkaiger for an hour.
But hey,
we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
it was all good.
No, that's
most
fair.
of it was good.
No, but the next review is going to be a whole thing. You're going to be like, this was awful. This was awful. I hated this. This was bullshit. And I'll be like, you are correct.
But it
was so much fun.
But I loved it.
But I loved it.
Saber is next.
We will see.
If you like Bleach, for nothing else but the action, you might like Saber.
If you like drinking Bleach,
I set you up for that so perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. Saber's 129. I'm not excited about it. It's the one right before my birthday, and I'm just
happy birthday to you.
There will be an announcement during that review as well, so look forward to that. I'll let you know after.
Okay.
Marcus
knows. I'd be
knows.
worried.
Marcus knows.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Don't forget to join us all the things, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching.